Hello family and welcome back. So today I'll be sharing with you how to cut and sew this stylish off-shoulder dress with Basque Waistline. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with this channel. Also like and leave a comment in the comment section. Here are the materials you need to be able to make the dress. We have half yard of maroon stretchy fabric for top part of it. Then an African print fabric which I'll use to make the dress cut part as you've seen, and it's about 2 yards. To get started, I'm going to first draft patterns for front and back top parts on this piece of pattern paper, which I later use to trace out on fabric. So I'm going to draw a line 0.5 inches away from the very top. It will act as the shoulder line. From there, I'll be taking vertical measurements. First is from shoulder line to bust line at 10 inches, to other bust line at 13 inches, and then to waistline at 15.5 inches. And for hip line, I'm measuring 9 inches from waistline, which I'll also mark. So now I'm going to repeat the same on side in order to achieve straight lines. I'm then going to square out horizontal lines across each mark. And after I'm done, we label as bust line, under bust line, waistline and hip line in that order. Next thing is to draw normal neckline, whereby I'll take 3 inches as neck width by 3 inches neck depth, which I'll use in drawing neckline with a curved ruler. So assuming side edge is on fold, I'll now take half shoulder measurement on shoulder line at 7 inches. That includes 0.5 inches stitching allowance. From there, I'll measure 0.5 inches downwards for shoulder slope and mark. And further on, I'll draw shoulder slope as can be seen. And that being so, I want to find armhole depth from shoulder slope at 7.5 inches. I use the formula on screen to get that. When done, draw a line across and label it as chest line. We'll now go ahead and carry forward half shoulder measurement measured on shoulder line earlier to chest line. This will help in drawing straight armhole depth in that manner. Let's also measure quarter bust circumference on chest line, which for my case is 8 inches. Next, I'll find armhole depth midpoint and mark there as well. I'll further go in by 0.5 inches from that exact point. And lastly, we'll go in with the French curve ruler to draw armhole curve. I want to draw that line, and that is why I'm measuring half bust span on waistline and also on bust line. And here I'm drawing the dart line. So guys, towards the center front of the dart line, we'll measure 0.5 inches, then 0.75 inches on the opposite side. And that being so, I'll draw 2 parallel lines from these marks to under bust line. When done, I'll measure 1 inch down from bust line and mark, which I'll use in drawing some tiny curves like I'm showing you. Having done that, I want to find shoulder midpoint and mark there. So now we'll extend that line to shoulder midpoint mark with a line, but this time round I'm using a pencil since it's only a line of reference. From there, I'm going to measure 0.5 inches on that line extension from bust line. This is equally important since it will provide more room for the breasts to sit. And like I said, it's an off-shoulder dress, which is why I'll lower neckline a bit by 4 inches from shoulder line and mark. So it's from the mark where I'll draw a deep sweetheart neckline to bust line using a curved ruler. Then finish up the second part too the same way. So guys, for bust effect, I'll measure 1 inch on the left side of that line, then 0.75 inches on the right side. Hence, we'll draw new lines from the marks on neckline to that above bust line. Other key point is lowering armhole depth a little bit by 0.6 inches. I'll go ahead and draw new armhole depth right across that mark like that. That being so, I'm now going to draw final neckline using a marker this time. Here is first part, then the second part too, and we'll also finish up that in that manner. Don't be confused with this initial armhole curve. On to the next thing, which is to mark quarter waist circumference on waistline, also same as total waist measurement divided by 4, plus 1.25 inches that replacement, plus 1.5 inches more stitching allowance. And same goes for chest line. 1/2 inch dart replacement plus 1.5 inches stitching allowance, which equals to 2. I'll mark, then we'll finish up bodice part like that. That's all for top part. From there I'll measure quarter waist circumference on waistline plus 1.5 inches only stitching allowance, no dart replacement. We'll also measure quarter hip circumference on hip line plus 1.5 inches stitching allowance, and having done that, I'll go in with hip curve ruler to draw skirt part outline. I know side outline looks weird, but trust me, once the top part dart is slashed out, they'll align. I want to draft Basque waistline, which is why I'm going to measure 4 inches on side from waistline, and then towards center front we'll mark at 7 inches also from waistline, then align across like that. So now it's on the line where I'll measure 2.5 inches. That's all I'll use in coming up with a nice and neatly shaped Basque waistline. It's important to draw first in pencil, then trace out with a marker later. These other lines are now not needed, and just like that I'll go ahead and cut a long outline, skirt part first, then top part after I'm done. These are now final front pieces after cutting out. Moving forward, I'm going to be drafting back part on this other piece of pattern paper. One major difference here is zip allowance, which is 1.5 inches. Then we have shoulder line, chest line and waistline here. With all that in mind, let's lower armhole depth further, same way we did with the front part. I'll go in with a ruler and square line across like that. After that, I'll measure half bust span on waistline at 3.5 inches. That's 7 divided by 2. We'll repeat the same on bust line, then a line which is dart line. In this case, I'll be measuring 0.5 inches on each side of dart line for a normal dart. Once I'm done, I'll measure quarter waist circumference on waistline from center back plus 1 inch dart replacement plus 1.5 inches more stitching allowance. Quarter bust circumference is already marked on bust line, so I only add 1.5 inches stitching allowance, which I'll use in finishing up bodice outline, as can be seen. And guys, since there are no major changes on Basque waistline part, I'm going to trace out the front part. First I'll secure with pins, then trace out with a marker. After tracing, I'll just remove pins used and I'll start cutting out a long outline on skirt part first, then top part after I'm done. We'll be using straps, so before I throw away the yoke piece, I'll measure length from shoulder line to new chest line, which is 8 inches. Plus 4 inches, which was front yoke part, so in total we'll need about 12 to 11 inches. Guys, I've gone ahead and traced out fabric pieces off camera, as can be seen, and I did leave about 0.5 inches stitching allowance. Have in mind that these two center front pieces are on fold. I already added stitching allowance on sides, so no more allowances needed this time. And very fast I'm going to notch on centers and on that. Then I'll remove all pins I used in securing pattern papers and pieces of fabric. It's always also very important to label pieces to avoid any confusion. This way I'll know top and center edges for all the pieces. And right away I'm going to begin stitching here front top pieces, center and side. Then we also have pieces of lining I traced out from main fabric. So now we'll start to pin side pieces to center pins from bottom edges, going up like that. It's on this pin part where you need to stitch with about 0.5 inches. Same will apply on this other side piece, then on linings as well. Guys, here is how you properly stitch these pieces together. Ensure you always start to stitch from waistline going up like that. This is how it should look like, very neat with no wrinkles, and bust effect came out nicely. From here, we'll stitch the other side piece also and repeat the same on lining pieces. This is me trying to iron already stitched top piece by first spreading seams as I give it a good press. So guys, I've gone ahead and cut strap pieces. In order to make neat straps, just fold in like I've done with the wrong side, then stitch on each with about 0.5 inches. I'm done making them, and like I said, my straps length is 11 inches plus 1 inch stitching allowance, so I'll cut from 12 for both. This is how you put straps in between lining and main fabric. Then stitch a long neckline with about 0.5 inches. After stitching, you need to notch all round, and lastly flip and top stitch on lining piece. Practically, this is how that is achieved. And after you're done stitching, notch all round like I'm showing you. Also me trying to top stitch on lining very close to where the fabric and lining are joined from. I'm done working on front top part, so now we'll head over to sewing machine and also join basque waistline piece to top piece with 0.5 inches. Here is how to go about back part. You align straps with the notch, then bring forth back lining piece. Ensure it's right side put together and stitch at the very top with 0.5 inches again. Repeat the same on the other side. Straps are in place after stitching as explained earlier. Also, I've cut out excess lining on side. Next is to stitch darts. Here is what I've got after making darts. From there, I'll measure 0.5 inches up from waistline on both sides. Then I'll draw lines across in that manner from where I'm going to cut. This is to prevent zip bulge. What I'm about to do is equally important since it also prevents zip bulge. Measure 0.5 inches from center back, still on waistline. Then slant center back inwards like that. Also, don't forget to slash out excess fabric after giving it a new shape. After I'm done, I'll stitch back waistline piece to top parts with 0.5 inches. I'm done joining back pieces. This is what we've got. So guys, I'm going to loosely stitch along this line using, and reason for this is to be able to stitch on sides with body measurement. I've loosely stitched back pieces. I didn't back stitch so that it will be easy ripping it out. I'm then going to stitch on sides along the blue lines, and after it I'll rip out center back. I'm done ripping it out, and it's time to work on gathers part. First thing, I'll take total measurement here all the way to the other end. After measuring, I found it to be 42 inches guys, though I'll make it 44. Here's the skirt part piece, which is 19 inches in width. I've also made gathered stitches at the very top, and its length being 3 yards. We'll now go ahead and gather it to 44 inches. After making gathers, I'm now going to put right sides together like that, then I'll stitch with 0.5 inches from one end to the other end. I'm done joining them as can be seen, and one last thing is to fix this long hidden zipper at the center back. Then we'll also stitch the rest of it to bottom edge. After that, I'll double hem all round the bottom part. This is the final look of my lovely and stylish off-shoulder dress. I hope you all try this and share your experiences in the comment section. Please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. We'll meet you all in our next tutorial. Bye.